Here's the number that changed how I train every single client over 60 who walks through my door. A single bout of resistance exercise lowers systolic blood pressure on average by 8 millimeters of mercury for up to 22 hours after the session ends. That is comparable to what a low-dose antihypertensive medication achieves. Let that sit with you for a second. Now, here's what makes me furious. I've spoken to hundreds of men in their 60s and 70s who were told by a well-meaning doctor or a well-meaning family member to stop lifting weights because of their blood pressure. I was almost one of them. At 54, creeping toward 148. My physician paused, looked at me, and said, "Marcus, maybe dial back the heavy lifting." I smiled, nodded, walked out, and went straight to the research. What I found flipped everything I thought I knew. This script covers 4 things you need to understand about blood pressure and resistance training after 60. You'll learn why the acute pressure spike during a lift is not the threat you've been told it is. You'll learn the exact biological pathway specifically involving your endothelium, your nitric oxide production, and your autonomic nervous system that makes lifting weights a powerful, long-term antihypertensive tool. I'll give you a precise, science-backed protocol built for men with high blood pressure. And at the very end, there's a force multiplier habit that doubles the blood pressure benefit of everything else in this video. Stay through it. It matters. 1. The pressure spike lie. Gerald is 67, former high school football coach, built like a man who spent 40 years carrying other people's burdens and loving it. After his last physical, his doctor flagged a systolic reading of 152. Gerald called me that evening and asked me the question I hear more than almost any other. "Marcus, can I still lift? Or am I going to blow something out?" Here's where the confusion starts. When you perform a heavy resistance exercise, say a set of leg presses, your systolic blood pressure can spike temporarily to 180, even 200 millimeters of mercury. That sounds alarming. It is alarming if you don't understand what's actually happening inside the vessel wall. Think of your arteries like a high-quality garden hose. During a heavy lift, the pressure inside that hose surges, but a young, healthy, elastic hose can expand to accommodate the surge without breaking. The problem isn't the surge itself. The problem is a hose that has become stiff and narrowed. That's what chronic, unmanaged hypertension actually does to your vessels over years. The pressure spike during a set of curls is acute, meaning it's brief and transient. Chronic arterial stiffness is the real structural danger. And here's the critical insight. Regular resistance training, over time, directly reduces that arterial stiffness. The mechanism is this: resistance training stimulates your endothelial cells, the single-cell thin lining of every blood vessel in your body, to produce more nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilating molecule. It tells your smooth muscle to relax and your vessel walls to widen. Over weeks and months, you're not just building muscle. You're rebuilding more compliant, more responsive vasculature. That's the biological why that Gerald needed to hear. Not should you lift, but this is what lifting actually does to your blood vessels. I told Gerald to start. 3 months later, his resting systolic was down to 138. He hadn't changed his diet, and his medication stayed the same. The lifting did the work. But there's one thing Gerald had to learn to manage, and it's the same thing I'm going to show you next, because without controlling it, you can turn your greatest asset into a liability. 2. The cortisol trap, why hard isn't always better. Raymond is 71, sharp mind, competitive spirit, and exactly the kind of man who, when I hand him a program, thinks the smart move is to do more. More sets, heavier weight, longer sessions. He came to me frustrated. He'd been lifting 6 days a week, and his blood pressure was worse, not better. I knew exactly what was happening before he finished the sentence. When you train too hard, too frequently, without adequate recovery, especially after 60, your body elevates cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In short bursts, it's useful. But chronically elevated cortisol causes vasoconstriction, meaning it makes your blood vessels tighter. And it activates your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight branch, which raises both heart rate and systolic blood pressure. This is the cortisol trap. You're working hard, you feel like you're doing the right thing, and your body is responding as if it's under threat. Here's the nuance that most trainers miss. After the age of 60, your hormonal environment is fundamentally different. Testosterone, which helps buffer cortisol, is lower. Growth hormone pulsatility has declined. Your anabolic to catabolic ratio has shifted. This means recovery takes longer, and the recovery window is when the blood pressure benefits actually get locked in. The adaptation doesn't happen under the bar. It happens in the hours after you put the bar down. Think of it this way. mTOR, the mechanistic target of rapamycin, is the molecular switch your body flips after a resistance training stimulus to begin muscle protein synthesis. For that switch to stay on and do its job, your cortisol needs to come back down. A body drowning in training stress keeps cortisol elevated, suppresses mTOR signaling, blunts the adaptation, and keeps your blood pressure elevated. More is not better. Precise is better. So what does precise look like? For men over 60 with elevated blood pressure, the research points toward 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week, with 48 hours minimum between sessions. Compound movements, squats, rows, presses, performed in the moderate intensity range of 60 to 75% of your 1 rep maximum for 2 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. You are not training to exhaustion. You are training to stimulation. Raymond dialed back to 3 sessions, added a 20-minute walk between sessions. His cortisol markers came down. I could see it in his mood, his sleep, his resting heart rate. His blood pressure followed 6 weeks later. Now, understanding the how much is critical. But there's another layer to this that nobody talks about in fitness content. And it's happening in your nervous system, not your muscles. 3. The autonomic reset. How lifting rewires your blood pressure baseline. Thomas, 64, an engineer by trade. Precise, methodical, wants data on everything. When he came to me, he'd been on 2 antihypertensive medications for 3 years and hated every minute of it. He wanted to know if there was a biological mechanism, not just an anecdotal story, that explained how exercise could lower his resting blood pressure. I love clients like Thomas because the answer is genuinely fascinating. Your blood pressure at rest is not a fixed number determined solely by how much salt you eat. It's largely governed by your autonomic nervous system, specifically the balance between your sympathetic branch accelerator and your parasympathetic branch brake. Most men with hypertension have chronic sympathetic overdrive. Their accelerator pedal is partially stuck. This is why stress, poor sleep, and chronic anxiety all elevate blood pressure. They all keep that accelerator engaged. Here's where resistance training becomes a precision tool. Regular exercise, particularly the kind that elevates heart rate moderately and challenges large muscle groups, trains your parasympathetic nervous system to become more dominant at rest. Scientists call this improved vagal tone. Greater vagal tone means your brake becomes stronger, your resting heart rate comes down, your vessel walls get more relaxed signals from your nervous system. Your blood pressure baseline shifts downward not just during the workout, but permanently. This is fundamentally different from what your blood pressure medication does. Medication intercepts a chemical signal. Exercise changes the signaling architecture itself. I'm not telling you to stop your medication. Please talk to your doctor before changing anything pharmaceutical. What I am saying is that you are not choosing between lifting and healthy blood pressure. You're choosing between lifting and missing out on one of the most powerful cardiovascular adaptations available to you. For Thomas specifically, I added one technique that matters more than any other for men with high blood pressure: controlled breathing during the lift. Specifically, never holding your breath through a full repetition. That sustained breath hold, called the Valsalva maneuver, is the primary driver of those extreme pressure spikes during resistance exercise. Instead, exhale on the exertion phase, the push, the pull, and inhale on the return. It is a small adjustment that changes the pressure dynamics of every single repetition you perform. Thomas's cardiologist cut one of his medications in half after 8 months. Partly diet, mostly lifting. There's one more piece though, and it's the chapter I wish someone had handed me at 55. 4. Myostatin, sarcopenia, and the hidden cardiovascular risk of not lifting. Here's the conversation nobody has with men over 60 about blood pressure. The conversation isn't really about lifting being risky. The conversation should be about muscle loss being lethal and what that muscle loss does to your cardiovascular system. After the age of 50, men lose between 1 and 2% of muscle mass per year in the absence of resistance training. 2002. By 70, That can translate to a 20 to 30% reduction in total muscle mass. This process has a name: sarcopenia. And sarcopenia isn't just a cosmetic issue or a strength issue. It is a metabolic catastrophe that directly worsens blood pressure. Here's the mechanism. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It consumes glucose. It secretes molecules called myokines, including irisin and IL-6, that reduce systemic inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. When you lose muscle, you lose that metabolic machinery. Insulin resistance increases. Inflammation increases. Both of those drive hypertension. Losing muscle is, at the biochemical level, a cardiovascular risk factor. Myostatin is the body's internal braking system for muscle growth, a protein that, when elevated, suppresses muscle protein synthesis. After 60, myostatin activity rises. The one proven physiological signal that downregulates myostatin, that releases the brake, is progressive mechanical loading, lifting weights. You cannot suppress myostatin with walking alone. You cannot suppress it with yoga alone. You need load. You need progressive resistance. The protocol I use for clients with high blood pressure and early sarcopenia signs: 3 compound movements per session, a push, a pull, and a lower body, performed in the 10 to 15 rep range at moderate intensity, with 2-minute rest intervals between sets to allow full blood pressure recovery between efforts. 30 to 40 minutes per session, 2 to 3 sessions per week. That's it. That's the minimum effective dose. I've watched men in their late 60s rebuild muscle mass, watch their blood pressure normalize, and reduce their medication conversations with their physicians to routine check-ins rather than escalating concern. The research and the real-world results align. I want to stop here for a second and ask you something directly. What's your number one barrier right now? Is it that you've been told lifting will hurt you? Is it that you don't know exactly where to start? Or is it that you've tried and felt worse before you felt better? Drop that in the comments below. Be specific. Tell me your age, tell me where your blood pressure sits, and tell me what stopped you. I read every single one, and the patterns you share shape what I create next. This is the force multiplier I promised you. One habit that, layered on top of the protocol we just built, doubles the blood pressure benefit without adding a single extra day in the gym. It's post-exercise walking. Specifically, a 10 to 15 minute low-intensity walk within 30 minutes of finishing your resistance session. Here's the mechanism. After heavy resistance exercise, your blood vessels are in a state of acute vasodilation. They're wider, more open, more blood is flowing through them. This is the window of maximum nitric oxide activity. If you sit down immediately after your session, that nitric oxide window closes rapidly as your heart rate drops. But if you walk, just walk, you sustain that vasodilatory state, extend the nitric oxide window, and amplify the post-exercise hypertensive response by a clinically meaningful margin. That post-exercise hypotensive response, that reduction in blood pressure after exercise, can last up to 12 hours in men who walk post-session, compared to 4 to 6 hours in those who don't. You're not doing more work. You're extending the return on the work you already did. It costs you 15 minutes. It pays dividends for half a day. I do this personally. Every single session ends with a walk. No headphones, no phone. Just walking and letting my system come back to baseline, deliberately. Layer this onto your 2 to 3 sessions per week, and your blood pressure response to the program accelerates measurably within 4 to 6 weeks. The men who watch this entire video, you specifically, are not the average. The average man over 60 with high blood pressure accepts that his body is declining and waits for his doctor to fix it with a pill. You are not that man. You invested 20 minutes in understanding the biology of your own cardiovascular system. That's not passive. That's elite-level ownership of your own health. You now know that the pressure spike during a lift is transient and manageable. You know that chronic resistance training rewires your autonomic nervous system for lower baseline blood pressure. You know that muscle loss is itself a cardiovascular risk, and that progressive loading is the only tool science has that directly suppresses the myostatin brake on muscle growth. And you know that a 15-minute walk after every session is a force multiplier that costs nothing and delivers real, measurable results. That knowledge base puts you in the top 5% of men your age. Use it. Apply one thing from this video this week. Not 5 things. 1. Pick the breathing technique during your next set. Pick the post-workout walk. Pick the decision to stop skipping the weights because of a number on a blood pressure cuff. Your longevity is not behind you. It's being built right now, one intentional rep at a time. I'm Marcus Reed. Train smart, live long, keep building.